The icon and the hidden reality of Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe is widely remembered as the ultimate blonde bombshell, an enduring symbol of Hollywood glamour, and one of the most famous faces of the 20th century. But behind the dazzling smile, the iconic white dress, and the flashes of paparazzi cameras lay a deeply complex woman who spent her entire life searching for true love and emotional security. While the media obsessed over her public image and cinematic success, her private life was a turbulent whirlwind of high-profile marriages, secret affairs, and heartbreaking romances. She was constantly caught between the world's perception of her as a superficial sex symbol and her own deep desire to be understood as an individual and a serious artist. Today, we dive deep into the real stories, the emotional truths, and the historical facts behind Marilyn Monroe's lovers. The early days. Norma Jean and her first marriage to James Dougherty. Before she became the global icon Marilyn Monroe, she was Norma Jean Mortensen, a young girl living a difficult and unstable life in foster homes. In 1942, at the incredibly young age of just 16, she married her first husband, a 21-year-old neighbor named James Dougherty. This marriage was not born out of an intense, sweeping romance, but rather out of absolute necessity to keep Norma Jean from being returned to an orphanage when her foster parents had to move away. James was a merchant marine, and shortly after their marriage, he was shipped out to serve in World War II. Left on her own, Norma Jean took a job at a munitions factory, where she was discovered by a military photographer. This marked the beginning of her modeling career, which ignited a powerful ambition within her. As her success grew, her domestic life began to feel like a cage. James wanted a traditional housewife who stayed at home, but Norma Jean wanted a career. By 1946, the divide was too wide to bridge, and they divorced. Soon after, she dyed her hair platinum blonde, signed a contract with 20th Century Fox, and officially became Marilyn Monroe. The collision of sports and Hollywood, the intense romance with Joe DiMaggio. As Marilyn's fame reached unprecedented heights in the early 1950s, she crossed paths with another American legend, baseball superstar Joe DiMaggio. DiMaggio, the iconic center fielder for the New York Yankees, was recently retired and was one of the most respected and famous athletes in the world. When they started dating in 1952, they instantly became the ultimate American power couple, the king of sports meeting the queen of the silver screen. Their relationship was intensely passionate, and they married in a highly publicized civil ceremony in January 1954. However, the fairy tale quickly transformed into a domestic nightmare. DiMaggio was a traditional, old-fashioned man who desperately wanted Marilyn to leave Hollywood, retire from acting, and become a quiet wife. He was deeply uncomfortable with her status as a global sex symbol and grew intensely jealous of the male attention she received. The breaking point came during the filming of the famous comedy The 7-Year Itch. DiMaggio visited the set in New York and witnessed the filming of the iconic subway grate scene, where Marilyn's white dress repeatedly blew upward in front of thousands of cheering fans and reporters. Infuriated by the spectacle, DiMaggio had a massive argument with Marilyn that night. Just 9 months after their wedding, a tearful Marilyn announced her divorce on the grounds of mental cruelty. The Hourglass and the Egghead. Marilyn's marriage to playwright Arthur Miller. Seeking to escape her blonde bombshell image and desiring to be taken seriously as an intellectual artist, Marilyn turned her attention to the world of literature and theater. In 1956, she married the acclaimed, Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright Arthur Miller. The media was fascinated by this unexpected pairing, famously labeling them, the Hourglass and the Egghead. For Marilyn, Miller represented safety, intelligence, and the respect she had always craved from the industry. She converted to Judaism for him and stepped away from the Hollywood spotlight for a while to live a quieter life in Connecticut. She threw herself into the role of a supportive wife, but the marriage was plagued by immense personal tragedy. Marilyn suffered multiple devastating miscarriages and ectopic pregnancies, which deeply worsened her existing struggles with depression, anxiety, and substance abuse. Furthermore, her trust in Miller was shattered when she discovered his private notebook, in which he had written that he was disappointed in her and embarrassed by her behavior around his intellectual friends. Though Miller wrote the screenplay for her final completed film, The Misfits, as a tribute to her, their relationship completely deteriorated during the stressful shoot. They officially divorced in January 1961, leaving Marilyn more emotionally fragile than ever before. The Hollywood rumors, secret affairs and high-profile flirtations. Beyond her 3 official marriages, Marilyn's love life was a constant subject of intense Hollywood gossip. Over the years, she was linked to some of the biggest names in the entertainment industry. Rumors circulated about her relationships with co-stars like Marlon Brando, Frank Sinatra, and Eve Montand, with whom she had a brief, highly publicized affair during the filming of Let's Make Love. Sinatra, in particular, remained a close friend and protector throughout her final years, often inviting her to his resort to help her recover from her emotional breakdowns. Marilyn was also known to have had relationships with powerful studio executives during her early days in Hollywood, a common reality of the era's casting couch culture. While many of these rumors were exaggerated by the tabloid press to sell newspapers, they painted a picture of a woman who was constantly surrounded by powerful men, yet struggled to find a partner who loved her for who she truly was on the inside, rather than the character she played on the screen. The political scandals. The truth behind the Kennedy brothers. The most scandalous, legendary, and heavily debated chapter of Marilyn Monroe's love life involves her alleged connections to the highest levels of American political power, the Kennedy family. For decades, biographers and historians have investigated her relationship with President John F. Kennedy and his brother, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy. The speculation reached an absolute fever pitch in May 1962, when Marilyn walked onto the stage at Madison Square Garden wearing a famously sheer, sparkling dress and sang a breathless, incredibly intimate rendition of "Happy Birthday, Mr. President" for JFK. While conspiracy theories suggest deep, long-running secret affairs with both brothers, concrete historical evidence suggests their interactions were much more limited. Most historians agree that Marilyn and John F. Kennedy likely shared a very brief, casual encounter at a friend's house in early 1962, rather than a prolonged love affair. Similarly, her connection to Robert F. Kennedy in her final months was real, but the exact romantic nature of it remains shrouded in mystery, hidden behind the politics and secrecy of Washington and Hollywood. The tragic end in Joe DiMaggio's final act of devotion. Tragically, on August 4, 1962, Marilyn Monroe's life came to an abrupt and shocking end at the age of 36 due to a barbiturate overdose. Her death sent shockwaves across the entire world, leaving millions of fans mourning the loss of a legend. In the wake of this immense tragedy, it was her second husband, Joe DiMaggio, who stepped forward during the darkest hour. Despite their bitter divorce 8 years prior, DiMaggio had never stopped loving Marilyn. He flew to Los Angeles, took complete control of her funeral arrangements, and barred the Hollywood studio executives and celebrities whom he felt had exploited her from attending. He was devastated by her passing and, as a profound testament to his enduring love and devotion, DiMaggio arranged for a bouquet of fresh red roses to be delivered to her crypt 3 times a week. He kept this promise faithfully for 20 years, until his own health began to fail, and he never spoke about her to the media or remarried. Conclusion. The enduring legacy of a woman seeking love. Marilyn Monroe spent her entire adult life surrounded by millions of adoring fans who worshipped her image, yet she lived and died experiencing a profound sense of loneliness. Her lovers and husbands were a reflection of her own shifting identity and her desperate search for a stable identity. She went from a teenage girl seeking escape and security, to a rising star seeking passion, to an artist seeking intellectual validation. She was a woman ahead of her time, fighting against a Hollywood system that wanted to own her, while simultaneously searching for a partner who could save her from her own internal darkness. In the end, Marilyn Monroe's tragic, beautiful, and complicated search for love remains just as captivating, moving, and human as the cinematic legend she left behind for the world to remember.